me on a quilting tale today. My name is Shaylin, and I thought I'd take a break from working on large quilt projects and just sneak a smaller project in there. I wanted to make the spooky and sweet door hanging, which is a free pattern from Fat Quarter Shop. You can make the long skinny door hanging, or there's a more square looking wall hanging made out of the same block. So I haven't done a door hanging before and thought this would be a great chance to try it. And so I got a bunch of solid prints to make this, and I wanted to also add some rosy cheeks to the little ghosts that are dressed up. So I'm not going to do a really in-depth tutorial because Kimberly Jolly has a bunch on her Fat Quarter Shop channel showing how to make these ghosts, and she always does a great job. But I wanted to add some rosy cheeks, and so I will just show you some kind of quick footage of me getting to that point, and then how I added those pink cheeks to both of the ghosts. So let's go ahead and get started.
I've got all my pieces cut for week one's witchy ghost block, and I decided I'm going to add a little bit of blush to the ghost cheeks and probably the little vampire as well. So I cut 2.5 by 1.5 inch rectangles that I'm going to incorporate into the face. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching these pieces together. Here are my hat unit pieces. I'm just going to sew those together, but this came together really easily. And there it is. Now this is where I'm going to veer off of the original pattern a little. In the pattern, the eyes are rectangles, and I want to round them a little, so I'm going to snowball the corners, which just means I'm going to take these smaller white squares and sew from corner to corner, corner to corner around each side, and then I'll flip and press them so that you get a more rounded effect. So I'm using 3/4 inch white squares on my eye pieces. Another thing that's different from the pattern is I want to add some blushing cheeks to my characters. And so I'm taking a pink rectangle, the same size as the eye, so 1.5 by 2.5. And I'm also going to snowball those corners. And so I'll attach them to the pieces that go under the eye and just make those pieces a little smaller because these pink rectangles will make up the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and get these snowballed and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, I'm going to just press these corner pieces down, and then I'll trim just a little bit away from the seam there, 1/4 inch away from the seam. All right, there are my pieces. I'm going to connect them now to the rest of the eye and cheek unit. So now I'm taking the L piece, and this is for the left eye, and I've already cut 1.5 inches off of it because what I'm going to do is sew the cheek in there. So 1.5 inch rectangle on the right, and then the 1.5 inch cheek, and then also the rest of the L piece on the left side. And then once it's all sewn, it gets connected with this top piece, and I'll just trim off the excess from that L piece. The left face unit is done. So for the right face unit, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to connect the two top pieces, the eye and the side. This was all connected. This is the end piece, but I cut it at 1.5 inches in. So this is 1.5 inch wide. I'm going to attach the cheek and then the rest of the N rectangle on the other side. And then once the bottom row and top row are sewn together, I'll connect them and then trim off any excess from the end piece. Okay, there's the two eye pieces. Now I'm going to make the nose. Right now it looks kind of angry with furrowed brows or something, but once the nose piece is sewn in, it'll be a much softer curve, just like the tops of the pink here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the nose now. Next, I'm going to attach the P strips to the top and bottom of the face. Such a sweet face is ready. Now I'm going to finish assembling this witchy ghost according to the pattern directions from here on out. Moving on now to week 2, Spirit Star and Spooky Star blocks. I'm going to be using this bright pink instead of the purple, but all my other colors are very similar to the original pattern. I'm trimming my hourglass blocks to 3.5-inch squares, so half of 3.5 is 1 3/4. So I'm finding the 1 3/4 mark on my ruler and I'm putting it right where my 4 triangles intersect. And then I can use the diagonal line on the ruler to line up with my seams. I'll go ahead and trim off 2 sides. Give it a spin. And now if I line up the corner to 3.5 inches, I should have the 1 3/4 dot still in the center. Make sure that's perfectly lined up. And I can trim again. And I've got my square hourglass block. My pieces for the vampire ghost are all cut, so it's time to make that last block. Here's my finished vampire ghost with the blushing cheeks, and the last week is doing the finishing. I'm going to be making the door hanging, so I just have a few strips to cut for that, and then I'll put it all together. My finished door hanging is done. I know it can't all fit on there, so I'll scoot up the little vampire ghost too so you can see that. I ended up doing that cross hatch design and just going right over the line, and as I was sewing, the chalk just kind of all vanished away. I didn't even have to wipe it down. All the lines went away and the pencil marks were so thin that you don't see them. I used a glow-in-the-dark pink thread, so if I put this in the dark hallway on my girl's door, it'll look really neat in the dark. On the back, I used some of the Tiny Frights line where there's some small pumpkins and flowers and ghosts and candies mixed there. I'll zoom in on that so you can see it. But the rest was all solids and it turned out really cute. I noticed I had a little bit of puckering on the edges. I probably could have maybe put some glue basting spray down to really smooth them out, but it's very minimal and the rest of it all worked out smoothly with the pin. So just something to keep in mind if you use the same method I did, that those edges as you're running off just really need to be smoothed out and straight. But it's a really cute, quick, fun to make pattern from Fat Quarter Shop, again called Spooky and Sweet. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how mine came together and the addition of the rosy cheeks. I hope you're enjoying this fall season and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thank you for liking this video if you did and subscribing if you haven't already. I will see you next time. Take care.